Hello and a very warm welcome to the Adventure Show. This month we're at the ultimate test of stamina, mental and physical toughness, the Artemis Great Kindrochit Quadrathlon. Competitors start here on the banks of Loch Tay and have to swim all the way over there to the other side, 1 mile away.
And then it's a quick change from wetsuits into running gear for a 15-mile race over the hills. And these are not just any hills, 7 Munros, the Lars Ridge, and then on to the Tarmarkin Ridge.
I'd be lying if I said it's easy.
Oh, that was a bit scary. I'm glad I'm here.
So if a 24-kilometre hill run is not enough, you run to another transition where you jump into a canoe for an 11-kilometre paddle back down the loch to the start.
Which leaves the small matter of a 34-mile cycle all the way round Loch Tay. It doesn't get much rougher,
tougher,
or more taxing than this.
so cold I can't speak.
I fear the worst is yet to come.
Also in this month's programme, we're taking to the rock face with 2 young hotshot climbers from Inverness. And still on vertical ground, we're helping celebrate the 75th anniversary of mountain rescue. And I'll be donning ice axe and crampons and discovering the attractions of ice climbing as we look forward to the winter months.
But first to the Kindrochit Quadrathlon, and here all the competitors race in teams of 2. They're set off for the first discipline, the swim, in groups, with the slowest starting at 6 o'clock in the morning and the last and fastest going off at 7:30.
No, you're dreaming about the day, and I thought I've done it already in my dreams, and I wake up.
I was filming last year, saw all the crazy people, thought what a load of idiots, and that's why I'm taking part this year.
Hopefully not too cold and not too.
And just a reminder of how gruelling this course will be. The route starts on the south shore of Loch Tay, then it's a mile swim straight across the loch before that 15-mile run over no less than 7 Munros. Then it's kayaking, another 7 miles up the loch. Amazingly, some competitors see this as a bit of a rest for weary legs. And finally, it's into the saddle for 34 miles biking around the loch. And as the first group take to the water, it's obvious that many competitors find this part of the quadrathlon the most intimidating. It's trial by water, and very cold water at that.
The swim is the nervous part. It's a struggle for us. We came equal last year.
Oh really?
So on the swim section, yeah, so we lose 20 minutes in the swim and hopefully make it up in the hills.
It seems amazing. A lot of people are very worried about the swim. Why is that?
It's not being a swimmer, I guess.
Yeah, when you start as a runner and a cyclist and haven't been in a swimming pool in 10 years, it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I started last year as front crawl, then went to breaststroke, then backstroke, and then side stroke. Just got there.
It's just push out water and the reverse off. I'll get as fast across there as I possibly can, although that won't be that fast in whole reality.
So it's 6 in the morning and the water temperature is about 6 degrees, and the first group of swimmers are off on a 1.5 kilometre swim to the other side of Loch Tay. And although the view's very impressive, I don't think I'd like to be in this at this time of the morning. This could well contain some of the best hill runners. And most of the swimmers are taking it pretty gentle. It's quite a long swim, the water's very cold.
While some find this part the most difficult, others, like Jessica Adams and Charlie Dutton, are taking it in their stride. This is really good team swimming, with the lead swimmer making sure she's in the right direction, followed by her partner who's tailing her. Every 10 or 15 strokes, she's having a look to find out exactly where they're going. The Kindrochit Quadrathlon is now in its 9th year, and without doubt, this event is one of the most challenging in the whole of the UK.
The quadrathlon started really back in 1998 when a friend of mine and and myself were having tea outside the house. We thought, how could we entertain friends that come up to Loch Tay? And we devised this wonderful event which really encompassed the loch, the hills, the road and everything. The toughest part is the Munros. 7 Munros, some of which are 4,000 feet, is definitely the toughest. And also they have to navigate, and when the mist comes down, it becomes very testing. My belief is that anybody could do it, with obviously training. And I think people are intimidated by the size. When they see it, it's intimidating. But if you break it down, you do the training, I believe anybody can do it. And we've actually proven that over the years. Some people that would themselves not thought they would have achieved it have actually managed to actually complete it.
Amazing, exhilarating. Tell ya, looking forward to next peak.
With a reputation to make the best of us quail, the organisers of the Kindrochit Quadrathlon have tried to lighten the load.
Part of the attraction of the event is a lot of fun as well. It's kind of different from the normal triathlon type event or quadrathlon. And we have, for example, when they get out of the swim, there's sort of hot chocolate and hot drinks on the other side, fantastic supportive marshals. And then we have a sort of between Munros 7 and 8, we have a sort of luxury stop including massage, tea, coffee, soup, hot water, fruit, cakes, sandwiches, baked tatty this year, chili con carne or cheese.
But the best moment of the race must surely be the last.
The clock stops when you struck the melon. I've got a collection of swords, and I felt that it's a nice finish. It's a nice way to finish an event. You've got a nice melon there, and maybe a bit frustrated about the day, and it's just a good way to sort of finish it off. And also, it's quite refreshing, and you have to eat it as well. These melons cost $3.50 each, so once you've chopped it, you've got to eat it.
So we're about half an hour in the race, and there's still more than half of the first group of swimmers still in the very cold water. But these guys are now out in the transition zone and getting ready for the hill walk. So that was a very elegant exit from the water. How was the swim?
Oh, it was actually all right. It was the initial shock to the system when your face goes under, but yeah, initially it's a tough bit. But once you actually get going, it's all right.
This swim would be tough for anyone, but for Carl Beetham, there's an extra challenge.
I learned to swim a month ago. 3 months ago I couldn't swim a stroke. I had my first lesson in February.
Well, you must be pretty pleased with that.
I'm absolutely amazed.
Oh, good luck.
That's pretty horrible, to be honest with you. Cold, a lot of breaststroking in, and yeah, very happy to have it over and done with.
Let's go, six-pack!
And while the competitors from this first group are already heading into the hills, with those 7 Munros ahead of them, the final group are about to take to the water. Rather them than me.
Well done, enjoy the news. So as the fastest lot set off at 7:30 in the morning, they might be regretting their choice of start time because the wind really has got up in Loch Tay, blowing from the south right down the loch. Much choppier than it was at 6 o'clock this morning. Conditions would be much harder, they'd be blown off course.
1.5 kilometres of 6-degree water ahead of them, and the water is very, very choppy. At this stage, no idea which group the strongest hill runners are going to be. That's going to be the crux of this race. One of the difficulties with any big open water swim like this is seeing where you're going. The navigation in the water is very difficult. So every 10 strokes, you're going to find yourself drifting offline a little bit. And by the time you're halfway across, you wasted an awful lot of energy making sure you can hit the landing spot.
Right now we'll leave the swimmers as they battle their way across the biggest loch in Perthshire, Loch Tay. And we'll head off to find out just what it takes to compete in this 4-part epic.
It's pretty committed. I would say sort of 6 months in advance of the event. They've got to, start really putting in the hours, doing what they can through the week, and certainly the key sessions are these long sessions at the weekend, really getting up into the hills, practicing their navigation in poor weather. Some of the tops today, they're out of visibility, so they need to practice the navigation, I think, and really get some hill time in.
Also, it's not just about being in the hills. Obviously, there's the swim, there's the kayak, there's the cycle as well. So, I mean, serious all-round fitness would be required, I would imagine.
That's very true. I mean, the swims are a pretty engaging experience. really got to get some cold water swimming in here. It's very much different to swimming in the pool, that's for sure.
I'd be lying if I said it's easy. I didn't feel like I was going to die though, so it wasn't too bad.
A lot of people travel from out with Scotland to take part in this event. Do you find that some people come and don't really realise what they're up against?
Oh, definitely, Diggy. There's definitely a good measure of that. I think a lot of people are prepared. We actually invite people to come up before the event, and we take them out and show them the hills and help them. However, there aren't people that can do that. You know, Primrose Hill in London's the hardest hill they get, and they're coming here pretty daunted, and you know, it's pretty hard for them.
Ah, shattered. Don't like heights.
It's a full-on sort of 14-hour hill walking day in itself, and then we've got 3 other disciplines, so it's pretty hardcore.
We'll be back with the 200 competitors at the Kindrochit Quadrathlon shortly, but first we're heading north to Inverness. We Scots have always been good at climbing, but more and more young people are getting hooked on the sport at an early age, and we've discovered 2 of the most promising youngsters on rock.
It gives you a kind of happy feeling, and it gives me a confidence boost. So I think I'm going to be better at climbing later on in my days. And it gives you a very buzzy feeling, happy feeling to push you on.
You just get this thrill out of doing it. Every route's different, and every route's got a different way you have to climb up it, so everything is just so exciting.
They've had lots of training indoors, they've been coached by their local climbing wall, and they've become part of the youth climbing team and have competed at the national level. And I think it's really down to the fact that, you know, they're motivated, they love the sport. I could see Rory and Ellen, if they kept on training and they get some good coaching and their mum and dad gives them support, because most children need a lot of parental support to get good at these things, then I could see them becoming British champions in the future.
Climbing for the McCaskells is a family affair, but this isn't something Ellen or Rory's parents ever thought they'd do.
Yeah, I'll keep it going.
It was the children who wanted to get into the sport, with father and mother following behind. In this case, quite literally, up the rock face.
They make things look so much easier, and we try to keep up, and we get encouragement from Ellen and Rory, myself and Diane. We're pushing it, we're trying to get more climbing. Whereas the last 2 or 3 years we've been more concentrated on Rory and Ellen, getting them climbing better. So now we're going outdoors, we're doing a bit more of ourselves, and we're trying to climb, trying to keep up. I wouldn't say we're going to overtake them, but we'll try and keep up.
Go on, Dad. Nice. A lot of my friends from climbing, their dads are quite a bit better than them because they've been climbing for longer. But yeah, I'm kind of better than my dad. But it's quite good because it's like the opposite way around for us. Usually it's the dads telling us what to do, but it's usually me or Rudy telling Dad what to do, telling him how to do the moves and encouraging him. Probably going to have to clip from there, Dad.
Right.
Clip.
They're quite different. I mean, my sons got into climbing because I climb, which is the normal route. And the fact that you know, their parents have got into it as well, I think it's great, because they had no idea that they would enjoy climbing beforehand. And now they really love it, and they're taking that next step as well. They're wanting to go out of the climbing wall. They're wanting to go and find these places in the hills.
Well, we started off with the indoor climbing. The holes are coloured, you know where you're going, you know what your next move is. Whereas you come out here, it's harder to find the holes, it's harder to find the moves. You have to be more aware of the risks, the dangers.
To start with, it's really hard work, learning to climb, and sometimes it gets quite frustrating because you see people just flying up routes easily, and when you do it, it's really, really hard work.
Oh, yes. My mum and dad haven't been climbing as long as me and Ellen, but Ellen's kind of competitive, so that's kind of annoying when she goes on a competitive streak.
Climbing's for everyone. Probably the best way to describe it. I don't know, it's just really exciting. When you get to the top, you feel so happy with yourself, and it gives you a good feeling inside. And then when you get back down and you look up and you're like, oh, I got all the way up there. It's really good.
And no doubt we'll be hearing again from Ellen and Rory on the Adventure Show as their climbing career progresses. And it just goes to show you're never too young to start. Meanwhile, back at the Kindrochit Quadrathlon, the swimmers haven't been having it all their own way.
Oh yeah, can't beat an early morning swim, you know. Icy cold lake. I didn't pick a point on a hill, so I ended up nearly going back towards the other shore, and then I got a little tap in the head. Then wrong way.
And Duncan McCallum's at the end of the swim to greet the racers as they get back onto dry land.
Just behind me is the first of the fastest swimmers coming out of the water. How was that swim? What you expected?
Oh, hung up a sec. That was really hard.
Yeah.
Oh, really hard. It's good to be out. It's really cold in there as well.
So it took a wee bit longer. It's 2 or 3 minutes longer than they anticipated because the conditions were bad.
Yeah, I've only been training in the serpentine, so there are little waves out there and they knock you off a course a little bit, and it's really hard to get your rhythm. I used to breathe every 3 strokes and I couldn't because the waves were going in my mouth, so I aim to come out first, so I'm really pleased.
Not easy. Yeah, it's not what you need first thing in the morning.
But did John tell you he only got roped into this yesterday? Yeah, my partner was sick, so I called him yesterday and said, "Are you busy this weekend?" He's like, "Why?"
I had a bit of warning. Not enough.
Yeah, so brave man.
With hardly any time to catch their breath, the competitors are off and away into the hills, literally onwards and upwards.
Worrying a bit is our support crew are going faster than we are at this point. So.
Today, there's another challenge facing everyone, the weather. The wind is strengthening and the mist is rolling in. Making her way upwards with the racers towards the first summit of Mael Grech is the intrepid and cold Lindsay Cannon.
This is the toughest part of the race. 15 miles, 7 Munros. Really strong wind today, absolutely bitterly cold. 1 Munro's a big day, 7 Harley Bears thinking about. The first Munro, Mael Grech, is just behind me here. They're going to have had a 900 metre climb from the loch to this first summit. The fastest is going to do it in about 4 hours 30. The slowest, well, it's probably going to take over 12 hours. It's not going to be easy in these conditions. We've got the first team coming up the hill here. They started swimming at 6 and it's just over an hour and 35 later. How you doing?
Good, thanks, yeah.
What was the swim like?
Good. 20 minutes doesn't seem so long compared to 6 hours on the hill. It's a good warm-up.
Last year, Andrew Stoke-Rees and John Mackenzie were the 4th fastest team, and at present they're out on front.
Just trying to stay on top of the mountain. It's blowing you off. A bit cold, but otherwise all right. Nice, isn't it?
What do you think is going to be the secret today? Is it just about keeping...
Slow and steady, I think, definitely.
Keep moving?
Yeah, definitely.
I noticed a couple of the faster guys had swung round this way and the crowd was taking the route up the valley, so I followed the pairings. Hopefully that was the right thing to do.
It's vital not to underestimate the seriousness of these hills.
It's too high now, I'm actually petrified, so high. I feel I need to hang on to something. Very hard, much harder than I thought.
Do you have a bit of a problem with heights?
I didn't realise how high it was going to be actually. But I thought I need help getting down.
Well, the guy we were speaking to a few minutes ago who was concerned about the height and obviously was actually really struggling, he was literally holding on to the mountainside. He's now been escorted down by one of the marshals. I'm actually now wearing 5 jackets and big pair of gloves. It's really bitterly cold and it's that sort of wet. You don't really realise it's wet. It's like a misty drizzle that really gets into your bones. Not nice.
As the first group of racers leave this summit and head onto the second top, Mael Garv, they find some respite from the wind. But in exchange, there's some difficult terrain ahead, and they resort to all 4s as they scramble upwards. Now the pressure's really on.
Fresh as a daisy. Am I nearly there yet? I should have bought crampons, not poles.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. That's a complete lie.
If anyone thought this was a straight run up a hill, the reality is very different, as Helen Witt is finding.
Is it going to get worse than this?
No, this is as technical as it gets. Can you just move on?
We're nearly there.
There's just nothing to hold on to.
Digger.
I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, you can.
Is that really the worst bit?
That is the worst bit.
On the whole climb?
The whole thing. Everything from now on is a walk.
Oh, that was a bit scary. I'm glad I'm here. In one piece.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Back on top of the first summit, Mael Grech, conditions are getting worse. The army are now erecting a safety tent.
I'm actually hoping, if I help the army guys here with the tent, that they might let me in for a bit. This is really desperate. Absolutely freezing.
The conditions today are the worst that I've seen it in this is my third year here. These are the worst conditions I've seen yet, and it's also the highest number of competitors that have been on it since I've been here, so very brave folk.
There's an interesting mix of people coming past us. Some of them are just strolling along and are doing this because they've got roped into it by their mates, and others are just bounding down the mountainside, really strong, looking like they're just out for a walk in the park, and this is no problem to them whatsoever.
Why am I doing this? Can someone tell me? I want an answer for that.
Some of my colleagues at work thought it'd be a good idea, and somehow I got carried along with the enthusiasm. And just at this moment, I'm not sure that was such a good idea.
We're taking it nice and slowly.
What do you think you're going to get out of this, though?
Well, I'm considerably fitter than I was this time last year, so if that's nothing else, that's one good thing.
So, with the 2008 Kindrochit Quadrathlon well underway, we're leaving the racers and travelling just a few miles up the road to join Cameron McNeish in one of his favourite glens. And for once, the weather gods are with him.
The season is definitely on the turn. The leaves of the trees are beginning to change colour. The hill slopes are taking on this lovely shade of burnished bronze. The wild geese are heading south, and the red deer stags are rutting. Maybe I shouldn't remind you of this, but within 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to be changing our clocks. We'll be into the long nights of winter, and that means shorter days for hill walking. And for that reason, I've chosen a hill that's fairly short, but it's a delightful hill, standing as it does at the very head of Glen Lyon and high above the Loch Dam. It's a hill full of history. It's quite a spectacular hill in its own right, and it's called Stochtenlochen. I have an old Bartholomew's half-inch map at home, and it quite clearly shows Loch Dam as Loch Giora. Once upon a time, there were 2 lochs down there, Loch Dam and Loch Giora, so Bartholomew's were quite correct. But when they built the dam at the end of the loch for hydroelectric purposes, the 2 lochs became one. And the bit of land in between, where there was once a farm and a section of woodland, was submerged in the rising waters. And down in the loch below me, you can still see an island, which is all that remains of that bit of land that once separated the 2 lochs. Glen Lyon is Scotland's longest glen. It runs for just over 20 miles from Loch Lyon right down past Fortingall to Aberfeldy. And many people would also suggest it's Scotland's loveliest glen. The silvery river line runs down through some quite pastoral areas of farmland, but rising on either side are steep wooded slopes that go up to over 3,000 feet in height. There's beautiful woodlands of birch and oak, beech and Caledonian pines, and black beetling crags peer down in the glen below. and the whole place just reeks of history. Away back in the mists of time, the great Celtic hero Finn McCool brought his band of Fianna warriors across here, and it's said that they set up their dunes or their fortresses along the banks of the River Lion. And 2,000 years ago, Emperor Caesar Augustus sent an emissary to Scotland, and he was based at Dungal near Fortingall. And his wife gave birth to a son, and they named that child Pontius Pilate. And more recently, a tourist came to Fortingall, and he saw an old man in the village, and he says to him, "Could you tell me where Pontius Pilate's birthplace is?" And the old man says, "Oh, there's nobody of that name here." And the man says, "What? Do you not go to church?" And the old fellow says, "There's nobody of that name goes to my church." The first recorded ascent of Stuchenlochen was in 1590 when mad Colin Campbell of McGerney in Glenlyon climbed the mountain. And in the record of that ascent, it's claimed that on the summit ridge he came across a herd of goats and proceeded to drive them all over the edge of the cliffs. But he really earned his nickname as a madman when he tried to drive the shepherd over the cliff edge as well. Stuchenlochen is 3,150 feet above sea level, 960 metres, and it's usually climbed in conjunction with its northern Munro neighbour, Maelbui. And certainly the finest expedition I've had, including these two hills, was a traverse of both mountains, going right round the very end of Loch Tay and taking in a couple of corbets at the far end. It was a long hill day, but my abiding memory of that expedition was standing at the far end of the loch, realising that I was there in one of the remotest spots in the whole of the Highlands. There you go, the summit of Stuchenlochen, and wow, you know, I've never quite realised how central this hill is before, and today we've got a complete 360-degree panorama. And way over here we've got the Glenlochy Hills, Ben Hallam, Ben Hoscarnick, way up at the head of Loch Lion up there, and then the flats of the Rannochmoor away across there with Maelbui, Buchalettenbo, the Glencoe Hills. And then hiding under the cloud, the highest of them all, Ben Nevis. And beyond that, the blue hills of the Cairngorms. I think this must be one of the most spectacular viewpoints in the Southern Highlands, or indeed the Southern and the Central Highlands. Quite amazing.
This is a situation no hill walker or climber ever wants to encounter. But sometimes things can go horribly wrong when you're in the mountains. For the last 75 years, we've been lucky. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, we've been able to call on mountain rescue right across the country. And they'll make a call out whatever the weather.
First 2 or 3 times you go out, you think, what am I doing out here? This is madness. And then you kind of get a bit more used to it, and then you can start, after 2 or 3 times, you can start to then be able to look after someone else who's in difficulty, because you can then deal with the conditions that you're encountering.
To mark the 75th anniversary, the Ochel Mountain Rescue Team are holding a training session on the walls of Stirling Castle, which sounds fantastic, until I realised my role was not just as a spectator.
You've been a sort of a bit of a ragamuffin. You're up there looking around for birds' nests or collecting eggs or doing things you really shouldn't be doing, and you've got yourself stuck. So we're going to come down, have a wee look at your injuries, and get you off the crag and into the stretcher and off the hill to safety.
And my role is not just to be rescued. I have to get into position first, and that means an abseil from the top of the castle walls.
How much do you weigh, Dougie? How much do I weigh? I would say 13 stone and some change. And here's me thinking it wasn't particularly high. Hello, boys.
Is that a parachute they're holding at the bottom or a big blanket?
It's a big blanket.
A big blanket. Well, the thing is, I've abseiled before obviously with the programme and done bits and bobs, but getting off the edge is always the tricky bit. It looks fine. It's grockle.
Yeah, just kind of good Scottish one, that's it. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. Drop your legs down, that's it. Okay, keep holding on to that. Jobs are good enough. Leave the stretch of the rope. Okay, and then just pull yourself down.
Okay. See you later. I guess the whole idea of training is that mistakes are best made when you're out training, but
hopefully not with you tonight.
I was going to say I'm the victim tonight, so but I guess these things are very important for the team.
They are. If mistakes are made, then we bring things to a stop. We look at what's gone wrong and we correct it. But when we're in a training environment, there's a lot of safety equipment around, additional to what we would normally use in the real circumstances. So you're covered for tonight. Don't worry about that.
What would you say that you get out of being part of the team and being the training officer?
I get a great satisfaction as a training officer seeing guys who come with just basic hill walking and climbing skills and start to work very, very quickly as a core member of the team. For me personally, it means I'm actively doing something with climbing every month. You can't sit in your bed on that Sunday morning and decide, no, I'm not going out. I've got to be there for them.
We have to react often very quickly, and we have to plan and think sometimes very quickly. Our aim is to get casualties off the hill as quickly as possible. It's not like when somebody has an incident, perhaps in the high street, there's going to be an ambulance there in 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay guys, I'm moving again.
So we try to get there very quickly and stabilise the casualty as quickly as we can. And that is obviously, in the terrain we work in, that is the challenge, is to get there as quick as we can.
Okay, I'm down. Now, I don't know if you can see from that angle there, but look what's over there. You know, the scenario here is obviously set up to save me, but it'd been pretty easy to scramble up here from down there and pretty easy to get in a state and get stuck. A small injury, any injury at all in fact, and you wouldn't be able to get off. And to scramble down from here, you could easily fall. Yep, somebody's moving.
Okay, Dougie. Just keep in watch in case I knock any stones. I'll keep to the side. Are you okay?
Okay.
I'll do Dougie, I'll come right down beside you.
Okay.
I've got a harness. I'm going to put it around your back, okay? Okay, so that's you. You're secure to me now, but you can't go anywhere.
So if you're going, I'm coming with you, right?
That's
okay.
exactly right. Okay.
Righty-ho.
We're sore. Anywhere sore particularly?
Left ankle. I don't think I can put any weight on it, so I don't want to undo my boot because I think it's going to swell up.
Okay, okay. Well, what I'll do is one of our team doctors is up the top, so we'll give him a shout.
Okay.
He can just come and have a quick once over, and we'll get you checked. But you're nice and safe now anyway.
Okay, good man.
You comfortable there?
Happy as Larry.
Okay, Dave. You're nearly there. Couple of feet. Sounds great. You can remember all that happened.
Yeah, basically, yeah, absolutely. Didn't bang my head or anything, just sort of slipped from here and came down, managed to grab on, and but I came down awkwardly on the left foot there.
Is it possible for you just to kind of stand a bit?
Yep.
What the plan is now is you're going to be beside me, you're going to be slightly above me, just like a proper abseil. Said I'm going to go down, I'll be down a wee bit below you.
Okay.
You guys ready then? Yes, sir. Okay, so if you just hop round, again, just let yourself come back. That's you. How does that feel? Okay?
Feels fine, yeah.
Yeah. Just watch your ankle.
Yeah.
Perfect, that's well done. His weight's held anyway, I've got his weight here, so are you comfortable enough to get?
Oh yes, absolutely fantastic.
Right, that's him off. That's you have him.
It's amazing from suddenly being on the ledge, just the two of us just blethering away, suddenly it's a hive of activity down here.
Can we get him up the stretcher a bit?
I feel like a bit like a turkey being dressed for the oven.
That's the idea.
So often do you drop these guys?
Every day. Never done it yet. Watch yourself, Alistair.
And off we go. All I can see in front of me is the vision that I'm going towards the graveyard. I hope that's not... The good thing is you feel wonderfully secure. Great. I maybe shouldn't say that until I get actually on flat ground.
That's lovely. Okay, lower away. Lower. That's us.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. That was superb. And I guess it's always good to know if you are in the hills and anything goes wrong, God forbid, that people like these will come out and help you. It's better than going down, better than walking down. Get this every time. It's great. That's me, always happy to help. But if this was for real, it'd be an entirely different story. And as great as the mountain rescue teams are, in the next adventure show we'll be showing you ways of staying as safe as possible on the hills. So watch this space. Back now to the Kindrochit Quadrathlon, where the fastest team, Andrew Stoke-Rees and John Mackenzie, have already completed 6 of the 7 Munros summits which make up this marathon run. And there's some amazing news. Last year they came in 4th, but this year, if our calculations are correct, they could be set to blaze a trail into the record books. They appear to be well out in front of the field. Even so, before they start up Maelnan Tarmachan, they need to refuel.
Right, where's your water things? And I'll fill them up.
Thank you. How have you found it, guys?
Good.
Pretty hard going?
No. Some wind up there.
Yeah, must have been tough. Oh. You're here quick though, boys.
Very, very quick.
I think you're quicker than last year, are you?
10, yes you are. 3 hours 57 to here.
Fuel stop over and Andrew and John are ready to go. There's just one problem. They've been so fast they've outrun the marshals and have to wait for their arrival. It's a tense moment.
No, I need both of you to stay here just so we can explain to you the safe route. He's literally going to jump down and explain it. I know you're ready to get away.
I've done it last year, Tom.
He's imposed an additional constraint. Come on!
I know, you slow your guts out. You've got to wait.
Now with the marshals in place and the safety sorted, they're clear to go. Andrew and John are old hands at the Kindrochit, but this year nearly twice as many teams have signed up on this mammoth day, so the competition is intense.
I came last year and I saw it, and you know, the people I saw doing it, they were just average people, so when you hear about it, it's like you think it might be like the fittest people in the world, but you have to be fit, but you can do it. And then we ended up teaming up and now we are here.
Honestly, my brother said to me, who's also doing it, he said to turn around to Tobe, there's a really good race up in Scotland which has got a really great party afterwards, come and have a go, mate.
So you've just come for the party?
Well, well then when we looked more seriously into it, it was like, oh, this is plenty more than just a little bit of a race. So I think it's just more of the challenge, just to see if we can do it. You know, I've done a marathon and done a few other bits and pieces, so just going to go and I think, take part and see how much you can push it.
This event requires not only strength, stamina and fitness, tactics play a key role too. John Mackenzie and Andrew Stoke-Rees opted for the earliest start time, figuring this would mean they'd be tackling the run during the coolest part of the day. It's a decision that's really paid off. It's time for the 7-mile kayak.
It's a pretty impressive hill run. So your next party behind you, do you know how far behind they are?
We don't, but we couldn't see them, so... But we reckon the faster teams are in the other stages, so it's sort of time trialing. It's racing against, you know, ghosts. You know, you can't see your competitor.
With some of the fastest teams starting the race an hour later, there's no time to lose. But right now, there's confusion over exactly where to paddle.
Where's the marker? Marshall, where's the marker? We're just heading straight down, John. Yeah, that way. Try and stay about 20-30 metres from the coast. Come on, boy. John, that way. Straight down that way.
So that's a little bit of confusion with the first people in from the hill run. They're heading off in the wrong direction. They haven't lost much time and they're well clear of everybody else in the field so far.
Back on the hills that we're at the feed station, it's just below the Ben Lors Ridge. People coming down this ridge here, the chance to get a hot drink, something to eat before they head up the last Munro, Maelnan Tarmachan, another 550 metres of ascent. And they also, well, they can get some TLC here as well.
And amongst those enjoying the hospitality and recovering from the hills is Helen Witt, who'd earlier found the going tough.
It's definitely harder than I expected. A lot harder, actually. And I thought I was fairly fit, but maybe I'm not.
What has made it more difficult for you?
I think the wind. Really, it's so windy, it's quite scary.
I reckon another, hour up and an hour back down, and then we'll be there.
One more peak and that's it. It must be quite difficult, though, for a lot of people to come off the ridge here, down to get hot food, and then have to be faced with that gruelling climb back up there.
That's what makes it the challenge. Otherwise it'd be quite nice to sort of come down to Loch and then that'd be it.
Ben's knee had given a bit of jip, so he had a bit of a massage, which I think has helped. But yeah, looking forward to getting this over with and getting in the kayaks, really.
It's sitting down we're really keen to get on with. Just, 6 Munros and last one to do, and we're just keen to get sat down that kayak and get paddling.
Is it really a case of a change is as good as a rest, that actually going from one discipline to the next?
So. Absolutely.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, so do I.
We'll give it a go anyway.
Yeah, we're going to give it a best shot.
Meanwhile, on the waters of Loch Tay, John Mackenzie and Andrew Stoke-Rees are eating into the miles. Their teamwork today seems perfect. But at the changeover point between the end of the mountain run and the start of the kayaking, those with the later start times are now coming down off the hills. Alex Slade and Nick Jeffrey were in the second group to leave.
So how's that run?
Yeah,
was it good?
Tough, very tough. Very windy on the tops.
Yeah.
And I think our legs are about giving away on the last one, because Nantarmican's a beast.
Walk in the park.
So that you're the first of the second group to come in.
Oh,
so
right.
yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, that's great news. Cheers for that.
Cheers, mate.
Hey.
Nice one. So how do you think the kayaking will go? Are you experienced kayakers? Or is this
Not
kind of...
particularly, but it looks quite calm, which is nice.
Yeah, there was
good. Yeah, no,
it was getting blustery when we were up there. We
Very
thought it was
blustery
going to be
up there,
miserable. Sort of the wind straight against us, but I think it'll be fine.
I think
Just
those arrows have made
push it out and go as hard as you can.
The first of the last group to start are also arriving here. They're the local team of Ray Evans and Mark Walsh.
You're the first in from the last groups. Do you think you've got a good chance at this? Good chance of winning?
Oh no, we never really thought about that. We've never done this before, so we're just seeing how we get on. I only got roped into this at the last minute when Ray's partner dropped out, so I'm just sort of standing in. So just sort of muddling through. That's what I'm doing.
That's nicely understated. So how's the kayaking going to be?
No idea. Neither of us have done much kayaking, but I guess everyone's in the same boat for kayaking.
I've had 10 minutes before, so we'll see. I think you should maybe ask us that at the end. Yeah, the difficult thing will be getting out of the boat with your legs static for a while. And we'll see what we're feeling like at the other end.
Now let's look ahead to shorter days and colder temperatures. And whilst most people stay indoors and keep warm, a certain person comes out to play, the ice climber. They look for anything frozen and vertical to work their way upwards. To find out what attracts them, I joined Duncan McCallum earlier this year in the Swiss Alps, where ice climbing frozen waterfalls is almost a way of life.
Oops. Come on, put it in. One of the great things about working on the adventure show is I get to try lots of different things. Now, one thing I haven't yet achieved or attempted is an ice climb. And today, with our resident Man Mountain, Duncan McCallum, you're going to
don't call me that. It could be
what,
deeply embarrassing for both of us.
Yeah, you're going to show me what to do and take me on this climb, and I have to say I'm a touch on the nervous side.
Well, it's good. It's good to be nervous before something like this. You don't really want to be overstretching with your hands. What you do want to do is keep your ice tools relatively far apart. So if the point goes in there, you want a 50 centimetre margin between that point and that point. So if it dinner plates or breaks out, you're not pulling your other tool out. And the other thing you'd watch on very, very cold ice is that if you strike the ice and it shatters around the pick placement, when you pull the pick away from it, it will fall onto your feet.
Obviously, this is the sort of thing you do. You do this over a weekend. You're an experienced guy.
Yeah, it has been known.
Yeah, exactly. So this is not the sort of thing that two novices can take on, is it?
Well, the French regard this as a débutante's ice climb, but that's because their waterfall climbing in Europe is a completely different sort of sport from ice climbing in Scotland. The most important thing on an ice climb is not to fall off. But you'll be fine. You're seconding. There's also on the continent there are bolt belays. So at the top of this pitch there are two big bolts which I'll be tied to. So you can basically do anything you want once I get to the top.
It's quite wet, this, to say the least.
It looks pretty steep, old chap.
It's certainly going to give your arms a bit of a workout. No piece of ice is the same. Every single stroke of the axe, every single placement is slightly different. One's different from the next. And to step from the ground onto something like this is a real psychological change. You know, vertical ice is something you really have to take a deep breath to start climbing. So I'll just put that.
This is my first ever ice climb. Actually my first and longest and probably steepest pitch on anything. So yeah, we'll take our time. Well, that's Duncan at the top. Well, the thing is now, I guess, that I've got to just get on with it. He will not be able to see exactly how I'm doing because he's up and over the top. So I can ask him things, and I will constantly ask him things, but taking as much help as I can. This first wee bit just seems like, you know, fairly straightforward, a wee bit of wander up, and then quite quickly you're onto, you know, fairly steep ground. In fact, it does look a little bit overhanging, but then that's from here, a slightly different angle.
Go for it. People can understand rock climbing. It's there, you touch it, it's below your feet, all the rest of it. And ice is always something that you try and avoid. You know, you walk on the pavement, it's a wee bit icy, step off it. Or there's ice in your windscreen and it's a complete pain. So most people's experience of ice is something that they don't want to be near.
Nice sound. Another one. Ah, that's one of his. Good. I'm on the steep bit yet, haven't I? No, I'm not. Below.
This is a waterfall. This is a great big raging torrent waterfall. So there's just a little window of time where suddenly the world changes and you've got this ability to be in a place where you wouldn't be ever.
This is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I really did enjoy that.
I enjoyed taking it because actually I'm impressed. I really honestly thought you were going to be on that steep section, either wanting a tight rope because your arms were pumping out, or the experience would be a wee bit too alien and you wanted a bit more assurance, but you did well. You did none of that.
Right, straight on. Come on. I think for me as well, ignorance was bliss. You're taking me up that, so I think, well, it's fine, so I'll just go.
I played the role of the expert very well. Actually, I was cacking it from the start.
You and me both then.
No, it was good. That was very good.
Welcome back to the Kindrochit Quadrathlon, where the leading team, John Mackenzie and Andrew Stoke-Rees, are approaching the end of the kayaking section. And what a race this is for them. Last year they finished in 4th place. Today they think they are well ahead of their nearest rivals, and if they carry on like this, they'll smash the previous record for this event. But both have full-time jobs. Andrew's based in Edinburgh, while John's from Aberdeen. So I've headed north to find out just how John, an engineer from the oil industry, finds the time to prepare for an event like the Kindrochit.
Probably try and spend a couple of days on each discipline. I suppose 3 lunchtimes a week I would go for a run, a couple of lunchtimes have a swim, and then maybe cycle 2 evenings a week. I think leading up to the quads I probably did a couple of mile swims during the week, and then 3 good distance runs, and then probably a couple of hours on the bike.
So did you work out a team strategy, given the fact that you weren't used to kind of being together in any kind of given competition?
I guess after last year we made a lot of mistakes and there was a lot of things we could improve on. First of all, last year Andrew hadn't done much swim training, so he was quite a bit slower. Getting lost in the hills was the next stupid mistake. I ran out of salts in my body, so suffered with lots of cramp, and then got Andrew to carry my bag for a good couple of miles. Then Andrew on the bike just had a single speed bike, so that made things very, very difficult because there's a 1,000-metre climb round the loch.
And also this bit, having rested your legs on the kayak for the best part of an hour and a half, 2 hours, you then have to get the legs moving again on the bike. How difficult is that to get going?
Hobbled for a couple of minutes, but then I guess you can start with the bikes you have these days. You can just start in a low gear and spin the legs a bit and get the blood flowing again before you really start pushing.
Back to Loch Tay and the final stages of this epic Kindrochit Quadrathlon. Now there's plenty of competitors on the water, and for the first 6 miles they have to stay close to the northern shore before crossing the loch for the final mile and the end of this stage of the race.
So Mark Onyett and Andy Wallace, the second kayakers in. They started at 6 o'clock this morning, but by our calculations they're about an hour and 45 minutes behind the leading pair at the moment. How are we doing, guys? Second to the checkpoint. How are you feeling?
Feeling good, actually.
Yeah. So
trying to loosen up from the kayak.
Yeah, you're looking a wee bit. The legs tightened up there, haven't they?
Yes, just a little bit.
On the first
Not
side,
normally spandy.
Just 34 miles to go. Easy peasy.
Exactly, yeah.
We're on the home stretch now, boys.
Yeah, exactly. Hog roast, back to the hog roast.
And a free bar.
And still in the lead from the last group to start this morning are Mark Walsh and Ray Evans. A tremendous effort given their inexperience in this discipline. They're doing well in spite of their lack of confidence.
I haven't done much cycling, so we're just gonna see how it goes. I put my watch on stopwatch this morning and I must have hit the stop 2.5 hours. So.
All right. Well, you're probably well aware of the fact that you've been on the course for a bit longer than 2.5 hours. Yeah. You're probably feeling that. So have you worked well as a team? Is there any point that you've been having any discussion?
No, we've worked quite well. No real strategy. We knew we'd do all right in the hills, and just we'll go as fast as we can, see what happens. You look the part anyway.
Ray and Mark taking a real time at the changeover, but it's so important that you get some fuel on board, because 34 miles after the punishment you've given your body, very important you get something on. This is a very hilly 34 miles. I often think cycling around a loch, it'll be flat. It's anything but round Loch Tay. It's a bit of a beast, especially when you've been swimming for a mile, running over 7 Munros, and then kayaking for 7 miles.
Nearly there.
So guys, how's it been so far?
So far so good. That was the worst bit. Water. Freezing cold. It's a little bit more tedious as well, because you sat there for hours. But no, it's good. It's been really good fun, actually.
Are you looking forward to the biking bit, or are you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to mashing the melon more than anything else. I'll be a happy man. I'll have a bigger smile on my face when I can mash the melon.
You both get very fancy bikes.
They're both high bikes.
That'd be why they're fancy.
My one at home's got a basket, and I wasn't going to bring that because they'd all laugh at me.
But for some, there's still more kayaking ahead, and Duncan McCallum's out there on the water with them.
Can you feel your legs stiffening up now?
I can't even move it.
How are the hands?
All right, so far.
Yeah. I bet your legs have stiffened up a wee bit though.
Yeah, that'd be worth a pound bet for sure, that.
Come on, Nico, paddle harder! I'm doing all the paddling here. You have done absolutely none.
But there's some good news too. Before paddling that final mile across the loch, the competitors make landfall at the misleadingly named Bikini Beach.
Coconut milk and tropical fruit juice, and that's about it. Sadly, there's no rum.
This remarkable setup is Bikini Beach, although there aren't any bikinis on display. There's plenty of other things.
Thanks very much. That's lovely.
And the racers can stop here and get a non-alcoholic pina colada and some.
Thank you very much.
Idle Fido.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, very good. Bum is cramping here.
Feel like hell.
On this thing.
Thank you.
A little bit of sand included.
Oh, I love your
Lovely.
Complimentary.
Thank you.
On the opposite shore, it's out of the kayaks, back on dry land and into the saddle. And in this final stage, a chance to eat up the miles.
The bike's been quite nice, but it's very hilly. But this road's much nicer than the other one on the other side. So it's not too bad.
Legs are feeling a bit shaky on the basis of the hills, obviously. But temperature-wise, it's fine. I just want it to finish now.
Coming down the last hill, bad on the knees. And now this doesn't make it any easier.
What makes the Kindrochit Quadrathlon unique is the mixture of serious racing and knockabout fun. What other event offers this kind of refuelling stop?
Fish and chips.
That's lovely.
Possibly the only chips I've ever deserved.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, wow, they're good. Thank you. I feel I burned them today.
This is easily the best part of the day, shouldn't it?
That's good.
Oh, that's kind of you.
best of Scottish.
My body really punishes me. Yeah, there's all those energy, citrus things, and leaning over on this bike, I've just got a constant cramp in my stomach.
Well, it's been good. I've really been pleased with our time and enjoyed it.
We're being overtaken, Tom.
I'm going to grab some more chips. Oh, thank you. It's a nice fatty batter.
But this is the last chance to rest and refuel. Now it's a dash to the finish line, and quite literally miles out in the lead, the first cyclists are now heading for home and a hero's welcome.
And here they come, John Mackenzie and Andrew Stokes-Rees. Unbelievable time. What they don't realise is they're supposed to dump their bikes before and run over the finish. Now this is a truly remarkable time from these guys. 9 hours, 44 minutes is the record for this course. These boys have absolutely smashed it. And they're just about to smash the melon. Which stops the clock.
Awesome, man. That was great. Awesome.
We reckon you've knocked about an hour off the best time, off the course record.
Yeah, we think so.
That was astonishing. Now, I must ask you about the moments on the course where you were feeling most down, because clearly there would be a moment because you were obviously pushing it today.
Well, the hardest part's definitely the hill, the last summit, getting to the last top.
John, how are you feeling now? Very quiet at the moment.
Just needing some food. That's all. I think it's a good day for us in the type of conditions we like. I mean, it was difficult on the tops, but actually I think that suits us.
Yeah.
We don't really mind it.
Yeah, we like the mountains, and it's, you know, that
I mean,
sort of thing's
the wind
good.
was brutal. It was cold. Visibility was nil. But if you know where you're going, if you don't mind the chill, you like it when it's windy.
That was good.
Well, awesome performance, guys. Well done.
Over an hour later, and it's only now that the other teams are arriving at the finish line. With this morning's staggered start, it's not yet clear who'll be in second place.
Mark Walsh and Ray Evans putting on a sprint to the end. These guys still have a chance of finishing second place, pushing it all the way to the line. First time they've ever taken part in anything as gruelling as this, and that is a supreme effort from them. I reckon that there's a pretty good chance that you could be second.
Just glad it's finished, to be honest. 10th, 20th. Don't really mind.
I have to say, you look remarkably fresh. You've just done this absolutely gruelling challenge. What about the bike there? Was you feeling okay, or was it really tough?
It was quite tough actually. I mean, neither of us have had much practice on road bikes. So.
I found it really, really tough. That was the hardest event.
Yeah.
It's the last one, so I suppose it's always going to be hard, but I found it particularly hard.
You're on the bike?
Yeah, I had to walk some of the hills. I just couldn't get it up. No leg power.
Supreme effort, guys. Congratulations. Well done.
Thanks. Cheers.
So, confirmation of those final results. John Mackenzie and Andrew Stokes-Rees came in first with that record-breaking time of 8 hours and 42 minutes. Ray Evans and Mark Walsh were in second place with a time of 9 hours 48 minutes. And the first mixed team back was Jessica Adams and Charlie Dutton, who came in a great 7th place with a time of 10 hours 26 minutes.
It's really good fun actually.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. As in, we thought the hills would be a little bit trickier. The swim was freezing.
Yeah.
You got out in a little bit of a state from that.
No, it's shivering, definitely. Yeah.
She's a rather good bikeist, so I just got in behind her and followed her around.
But yeah, no, we didn't know what to expect really, so yeah, it was good.
Well, I'm exhausted just watching them. And that's it from this month's adventure show. Next time we're heading to Britain's most northerly cycle race, the Ullapool Challenge. Join us for that if you can. Bye for now.